I know that in playing Shakespeare, I read that you did all of this research. Like, you poured over biographies, you're reading all of his plays, and this is not necessarily like a faithful Shakespeare. So I'm curious to hear from you, like, what made you want to dive in so deeply? Yeah, a little bit. What made you want to dive in so deeply? And like, does it end up inform? Like, is it just bonus material in your head, or does it really inform choices that you're making on stage?
I'm the kind of actor who likes to do a lot of research for whatever job I'm doing, whatever it is. And in this case, when I knew that this job was mine, and I knew that after Toronto I would be playing William Shakespeare on a Broadway stage, I thought, I better know my stuff. And I need to know as much about him and his life, even though it's not applicable necessarily to the show that we are doing. It just didn't feel right for me to just walk in with this with an attitude of like, I got this. That's just not.
There's a reverence there.
Yeah, so I studied William Shakespeare in high school and in college. I've done plays in high school, college, and professionally, written by Mr. Shakespeare. But I wanted to know more than I already knew. So I read a lot of really wonderful books. You can't really call them biographies because you don't really know. It's all guesswork. It's all guesswork based on other people's, remembering things and analysis, and a lot of it was very useful, just as much as I could get. I worked my way through the plays, and I'm about halfway through the plays now. And I've read lots of them and performed them, but I just wanted to be able to say that I was doing work. And it has informed it. I learned that in Shakespeare's time, all plays, comedy, drama, whatever, and not even just plays written by him, but all of his contemporaries, the play would end with a jig. And the jig was where all the actors would stand up and walk on the stage and dance together to a song that had nothing to do with the show, but they would dance and do this very traditional jig. And so the good guy is dancing with the bad guy, and this guy who killed this guy they're dancing together, and part of it was to show the audience the show is over, and we're all alive, that wasn't real, and we like each other, and it's okay.
So the curtain call Megamix is 600 years old.
So when we get to the end of our show, and we say, and that's the ending, and then we say it's time to dance, that's our jig. So Can't Stop the Feeling in our show is Shakespeare's jig. And that's not a connection I would have made if I hadn't done that deep research. So that's just one of the many things that I picked up.
Very cool. It's very cool. In terms of the relationship between your two characters, I mean, each of their individual struggles is very real. Like that scene that is kind of like the inflection point of Anne and Shakespeare's relationship, where Anne is really questioning, like, can I stay with a man who is seemingly more dedicated to his work than he is to me, leaving me to do all the house stuff? And Shakespeare's response of, but I'm doing this for you. It really hit me, and I'm wondering if you can break down the creation of that scene together, because it really does stand out.
Well, I'm a little sad no one asked me about my research for this role. I too watched The Princess Diaries. I just wanted to address that. No, but on a more serious note, I think what's beautiful about and what is complicated about their relationship, and obviously we see it being played out through Romeo and Juliet. I mean, they really are the puppet masters of, yes, you have these two relationships, but they are incidentally kind of one and the same, right? We're trying to write a better story for Romeo and Juliet to make our life what it can be. And I think what's challenging for Anne is, first of all, the courage to actually show up that night and speak up. So that's step one, right? And then the idea that even when I've said my piece, even when I've said, this is what it is, this is why it's not working, how can we make this better? Once you have the courage to say those things, then what happens, right? What is the communication? What's the commitment that they make to each other? And so it's a cathartic, it's always a powerful scene, like to see what's the give and takes. Nothing's ever, just because someone wants something and the other person concedes. You know, it's really, it's a balance, and it's a constant choice to say, what can we each do to make this better? And that's what they also gift to Romeo and Juliet. You know, it's like, do you want to be with me? No, not necessarily, but let's keep working on this. And I think that that's the lesson that we learn, is that not everything's tied with like this beautiful bow.
Sark, did you want to add anything?
This scene has always been very within reach for me, and I think for us. It's always been, you know, I am a husband, and I am a father, and I do work away from home. And when we started this, I was in Toronto, and I was away from my family who were here in New York. And I'm doing a show about someone who is, you know, at that moment, not at home. And those words are exchanged by these two characters. So it was very easy to relate to. I do not have a lot in common with the relationship that he had, you know, that William and Anne have in terms of his real true selfishness about his work over his family. I do everything I can. It's still not enough, but I do everything that I can to try to be there and make up for this sacrifice that they have made for me to be able to do this. And so it's very tactile. It's not hard to. I don't have to imagine a whole lot.
Okay, Betsy, the only reason I didn't ask you about research is because there is so little out there that we know about the real Anne Hathaway. But I will ask you, did you find more nuggets or anything? Or did you really have to create her from kind of scratch?
I mean, there are a little bit of nuggets here and there, but no, I was being cheeky.
I know, and I liked it.
I love the idea.
Diaries, Devil
Right?
Wears Prada, Miss Fan.
And Anne Hathaway, if you're out there, we still want you to come see the show.
So you two are by far not the only relationship on this stage. There are so many relationships happening on this stage. It's like a great, I don't know, sometimes I think it's an episode like Degrassi or something, you know? Like, it's like, there's so much juicy little drama. But that brings me to Angelique and Lance. And one of the things that I love especially about Lance is that he's the father to Francois, but then we see like the lover in him. We see the man who has this old love and wants to reignite it. And so often I think that you would see someone be either the father or the romantic lead. So tell me what it's been like to take on a character that really gets to be all the things on stage.
Well, first of all, when I started to read the material, that was one of the things that attracted me most. To play someone that I would never be, a father, and I'm a father to dogs, but not to. But and to have a relationship with an old lover again. So the script was so brilliant that gave the opportunity, and I feel that every day on stage that I learn so much with this character, with these relationships that I have on stage. First of all, with my son, with Francois, and the whole relation of a father and a son that I myself would experience in my life with my father, and going through the same issues that Francois goes as a young boy. And to be able to tell that story to so many people and to comfort them and just to tell them there's hope in this kind of struggle that they go through for some people. And also learn how to be not only a father, but how to be a good father. So that gives me a lot of satisfaction every night. And also, of course, as you mentioned, the relationship with my beloved nurse. No love that...
Keep saying old.
Well, we are.
Former.
We're all in our 20s.
We are.
Calm down.
Listen, I know we don't look, but we are. Anyway, yeah, you know, we see Lance as this father figure that has to be very strong and has to be tough with all the sons and has to provide education and has to lead the family in certain direction, and he does that very, very well. And he wants what's the best. What lacks for him in the beginning of the play is that he doesn't see other people. So he's very self-centered. So Philippe, Lefrancois, and Mel they teach him how to be a better person, and forcing him to see what's going on around himself. So that alone, and that possibility of rescuing love, changes. I think love changes everyone every time, and for sure for Lance in this play, that's what is the key of his changes. Is love. I think it's Angelique that comes into his life again and opens his eyes and his heart to the others around him. So that's how he becomes a better father to Francois. So it's very interesting to go through that journey every night, because we bring things from our personal lives to the stage. It's this kind of material that allows us to be human and to it's the everyday life that feeds us as actors to find the humanity in each moment. And this is such a brilliant material because we can't do that. It allows us to be people. So it's very rewarding.
Yeah, it's not, as much as it is a party and all of these pop hits back to back, there is a lot of substance there in each one of these characters and in the ways in which they evolve throughout the night.
We all have fun. It's a lot of fun. And people leave the show with this feeling of happiness. But also they leave the show with this feeling of, wow, there's a great message here too. That's what I believe why people come back to the show and keep coming back, because it's not only the fun. We touch very strong subjects, and people want to connect and to see these characters as their own mirror, as their own lives on stage. So we try to do that as we can.
Melanie, for you, what is it like on the other side of this relationship? I'm also curious because you have played Angelique opposite other Lances for extended periods of time. What does Paolo's Lance bring out in your Angelique?
Tell him he's the best.
There is no boundary between Mel and Paolo and Angelique and Lance. There is quite literally no boundary. No, we are not together, but because we both have our respective partners, but we might as well be, because we literally our friendship is so deep, and our love for each other is so deep and so real and so full that there is literally no play acting. We go on stage and we see each other and we're surprised by each other. We are psychically joined. We really are, because he could do something and I know exactly what, and we know exactly, he will do something different and I know exactly what to do to make that. I will do something and he knows exactly what to do. Literally, we're like, I can't tell you, we're like Siamese twins. I know we call them the conjoined twins. That in terms of like that connection that we have in our hearts and in our minds, it's so deep and so melded together that there is no difference between us off stage and us on stage.
But I also want to credit you because not to take away at all from this connection that you're describing, which is so special and so rare, but I think it's also the effort that both, and the skill that both of you must have in the listening, right? It doesn't happen without
Yeah.
you being willing and responding in that moment of like, this is what this person just gave me, and this is what I'm going to do with it.
Yeah, between the two of us, there are decades of experience on stage. You know, it's quite, we have a long time on stage. Yeah.
And when you start a new job, you never know what's going to happen. And sometimes we're lucky to have someone like a great partner that is going to be a great partner on stage and off stage, as you said. So we are living this moment as full as we can.
Yeah, it's just, we were willing. And when we first started rehearsal, we've been together now for over a year, all of us. It's like, it's a long time. And when we first started, Paolo was busy across the waters doing something else, and you came in like week 3 rehearsal or something.
Yeah, I
for
had 3
1 week.
rehearsals, yeah.
Yeah. And so you have to like really, yes, there is a willingness. You have to be willing. Everybody came into this project willing and open to whatever we were going to receive. And yes, we brought our own self and our expectations for ourselves, but you can't do this alone. This show, as you rightly said, is a web of relationships. And if you feel that you're going to stand there by yourself and just do your own show, then you're going to be out in the wind.
Yeah. It's beautiful.